good afternoon. So we're back for another video today. Today I've decided to share with everyone the construction of my real-time clock chips that I made a couple of years ago. There's nothing tricky or complex about them, but I just thought I'd make a video on. I've currently sold out. I sell them on eBay, so I've sold out. So I'm just going to make a couple more, and thought I'd bring you along for the ride. And yeah, it's pretty hot out here today. Let's see, the thermometer is showing a nice 37 degrees. It's 38 degrees outside. So I've got the fan on behind me, and I'm pretty hot, I won't lie. So I was kind of debating whether I actually do this today or not, but I've got some spare time to do this, so I need to get it done. So anyway, let's hop to it and get some of these guys made. So some of you probably know back in the 90s there was a real-time clock chip that was used. Is there one there? No. Oh, there it is. Can't really see it. I'll show you in a sec. So they had like an integrated battery, and the battery would go flat and you couldn't replace the battery, so you had to replace the entire real-time clock chip. So people come up with all these hacky ways of, drilling holes here and there, and you find if you ever pull one apart, you literally find that it's just a chip and a battery and a, what do you call it? Sorry about this. And a crystal. So yeah, it's these chips here. These are the real-time clock chips, and there are literally about 10 or 12 that are all different brands, but they're literally all the same thing. So yeah, a couple of years ago I started to get a couple of systems where I needed these things, and I thought, do I get these things, or do I... Someone had made an aftermarket one. I think it was Monotech. I saw had one that he made, and I thought, you know what, I could probably make my own. So it usually plugs into this socket here. So yeah, make them I did, and today we're going to put one together. The PCBs for it. So I didn't make these for a while because the chips, after COVID, everything kind of went haywire, didn't it? So the chips that I would use for these, which is a surface mount chip there, went out of stock everywhere. I got some fake ones, and we won't go there. Buy one fake one to test it out, it works, and you buy another 20 because they're cheap, and none of them worked, which was really great. So we'll just get, how many should we make? We'll probably make, we got time to make 2. By the time we make them and test them, yeah, let's just get 2 happening. So chuck those back up, and yeah. So here we have it, close up of the board. So it's pretty straightforward. All you do is solder the pins on. The pins match up with the pins on a chip. Yeah, you got the surface mount chip on there, which is probably the trickiest part. And then it's got on those 3 pins there that you can see, battery, module, crystal. I think that's it. And then the rest of it is just jumpers for an external battery. Yeah. It's actually been a while since I've put one of these together. This is my version 1.3. If you actually look on my website, I've got the manual for these, and it kind of goes into a bit more information if you're keen. Actually, I'll put a link down below, so if you're interested in these, or you can even make it yourself if you really want. They're pretty straightforward. Yeah, you can go take a look. Okay, so we'll get the components out that we need. This guy can get put to the side. This is just my test board, by the way. Working Pentium 166 board, which incidentally was in my arcade machine that I built in the late 90s. Running a very early version of MAME. I've got like everything in this shed has history. We've got your batteries. What's in there? Different batteries. Yeah. Lithium batteries, and here are the chips from Farnell that were, I think they're out of stock for like a year, at least a year. And a couple months ago I finally bought some, and I kind of put them in here and forgot about them. Yeah, there's another board down the bottom. JLC PCB, they do not sponsor this video or anything, but That's where I pretty much get my PCBs through. And there's a heap of crystals from Farnell. So it's actually a specific, it's a 32.768 kilohertz. But there was something about these compared to the cheap ones that you just get generically. And I cannot remember off the top of my head what it was, but you can't use a standard crystal because the timing goes a bit haywire. Oh man. Impedance or something of the crystal? Yeah, anyway, I just know that those are the ones that work. So here we have the battery holders. Oh, here's a completed one. So I see the battery sits in the top there. So I've seen other ones and they kind of go too wide. I just like the idea of having the battery insertable from the top. And yeah, I'll have to look in the manual what the jumpers are for. I can't remember what main jumpers are for. What are they? One's to enable... Can't remember. Sorry, I'll have to look in the manual. I'll put it up on the screen if I can search for it. But yeah, this is probably one of the ones that, yeah, had a fake chip on it. So anyway, so yeah, that's just the specific pins that I use. They're like a thin gold-plated pin. There was a thicker one you can get, which is like the ones that you use on the jumpers. I don't know if you notice that they're actually thicker, but these ones will damage the socket, whereas these ones won't, because they're the same thickness as the pins on the original chip. Here's another failed one for whatever reason, another fake chip. It's a shame. Oh, here we go. Here's a third one. I didn't realize I had so many cactus ones. And here's a fourth one. Okay, so yeah, this is you can see that chip's different again. Thanks to China, all these chips are false. From memory, I actually held on to these. I remember now, I held on to these ones so that I could look at what chips are fakes in the future. And here are the cheap eBay, AliExpress crystals that you can't, well, you can use them, but the clock does some really weird things. The real-time clock, because the point of the real-time clock is to save the date and time, and also has some NVRAM storage. Yeah, here's all the fake ones that I got. Yeah, I wonder what they actually are. Like, they were pretty cheap. I can't remember what I paid for them, but they were like, I mean, by comparison, the legitimate chips are like $10 each, whereas these ones were like $2 or $3 each. So it's kind of my own fault, I guess. And here's one of my earlier green PCB ones, so a prototype. Yeah, gold pen, jumper pins, we need those. The gold slim pins. So, alright, just gonna finish getting everything together and we'll get started. Alright man, is it getting hot in here? Don't know how long I'll be able to do this for, but give it a shot anyway. Yeah, so I just went and had a quick look before to see what these jumpers were too. Can't believe I've forgotten, it's kind of embarrassing, but anyway. So one is for NVRAM clear. Your jumper, there's 4 pins here. You jumper the 2 middle ones, and that powers the onboard battery. So if you take the jumper off, you can put a 4-pin header on here. Which, yeah, so if you've got an external lithium battery, you can plug it on that way. So anyway, let's get started. So I'm not going to bore you by talking you through this. It's pretty straightforward. But I will note though, another reason I just remembered why I'm actually doing this is because I want to put together one of these EMS memory boards for my book 8080. So I thought this is like a good practice just to get my surface mount soldering skills back up to scratch, because I have not done it for a little while. So yeah, anyway, let's get started. remembered why I had some sockets sitting in the box to line the pins up while you solder them. Okay, so that's the first one down. Sorry about the shaking of the camera. There's a fan about 2 meters behind me, and the air from that's causing oscillations on the phone because it's like a huge arm that I've got the phone or recording thing attached to. Recording thing. Anyway, so that's all assembled. I just got to wash off all the flux. Always use flux, it just makes the solder joints flow that little bit nicer. So yeah, what do I use for that? I forget what it's called. I'll go get it. So desolvent is what I use. It's good. I find it's a really good flux cleaner. It's like sticky label remover. So anyway, spray a bit on that, slush it around like such. Usually gets it all off. Alright, then yeah, pretty much go rinse it off in water. So yeah, after giving a good rinse off, all the flux is off. Obviously it's wet, so we just got to spray a bit of electrical cleaner on there, just to get the moisture off and get the last of any bits of flux. So I know you can get like spray flux remover, but seriously this stuff is so much cheaper and I find it actually works better. So yeah. Alright, so that's just got a bit of condensation on it now from the spray because it's so freaking cold, so give it a quick dry. Okay, so it's clean and dry. So the last thing left to do is to just glue that crystal down onto the main board. Separate board, not really a main board, is it? Main board for the little front top. Die! Okay. It's pretty sticky, that glue, so it's not going to go everywhere. I mean, not thick, not sticky. You get what I mean. So there we go. Just glue down so it doesn't fall off or anything. That one's ready to be tested. So I'm just going to speed through the second one and then we'll test them both on the board. So with a click of a finger we'll have 2 of these. Okay, so now we have two. So yeah, now we're going to test them and fingers crossed they will work fine. Before that, we'll just clean up. Okay, for this we're going to need an ATX power supply. This out of an old Olivetti. Alright, just like that. Good old AT power connectors. So let's plug those in. If you ever plug in AT, I mean, if you're watching this, you probably do. You always match the earth wires next to each other to make sure you got the orientation around the right way. It's back in the days when not everything was foolproof, unfortunately. That doesn't need to plug in, but we'll plug it in anyway. It's a CPU fan, now Pentium 166. So this is actually a nice little board, P55 TP4N. It's got a cache slot and real-time clock slot. So when I test these, first of all I plug it in without a battery. So I've got like a little multiple ways to determine the orientation is correct. So it should slot straight in because it was, when it was soldered, it was lined up on that socket, which, yeah, it's a good idea. So now we just plug it in. We just need a keyboard. Now we need one of the old DIN 9 keyboards, which I actually have. Look at that. This is from an old ATM, a Diebold IX, if you're wondering. So early 2000s Diebold ATM. So this is the spare keyboard that I've had ever since. It comes in handy because it's like a mini. Why is that not plugging in? Wrong way around. Yeah, it's like a mini AT, not AT. It's already an XT, you know, the old 9-pin DIN connector. Alright, so power in. And I think that's powered up. And we get a beep. Let's go have a look. We do have a beep. So what I do to test these is just go into the BIOS, make sure. Incidentally, if the chip doesn't work, it won't actually boot. It doesn't just keep the date and time, it does a few other little things as well. So yeah, we just should show, yep, that's right. So what I do at this point is now that I know it works, I plug a battery into it. I just realized I forgot something. I have to put a jumper on pins 2 and 3 for the battery to work. So let's go get a jumper. Ouch. Wow, that's really hot. Ow. Damn. It shouldn't be that hot. Anyway, we'll worry about that later. Right now, what we're going to do... So I don't bother setting the date, although we can just change that. I don't know. Change that to 2028, why not? Alright, change it to the time. So what's the current time? Time is 15:20. 22. Yeah, what's going on? 2 0 2 0 2. Why isn't it? Page up, page down. There we go. 20. Alright, so we save that. That's what I get for trying to guess where the buttons are. Alright, so we save that, power it off, and I will set a timer for exactly 1 hour and come back and just make sure that it held the time. Right, so we're back, it's an hour later, so let's power him up. Hope he's still got a beep, yep. Okay, into the BIOS. It should be, yeah, that's about right, 1623. So it's held the date and time. So that's all I do. I trust these crystals. Like I said, I had an issue a while ago with those cheap crystals, but these Citizen brand crystals are good crystals. And when I checked them out thoroughly, they did what they should, because surprise, they're the right crystal. Alright, let's try the second one. Got a battery for this one. Try and do this with one hand. Come on. There we go. Alright, so with this new one on, the time should be reset. Please beep. Hey. So yeah. Back in we go, same thing as before, set the date and time, make sure it's 2000 something. What's the time now? 16:25. So 16, and for some reason you got to use the up and page up and page down for this one. Actually 25, that'll do. Alright, save and exit setup. Yes. And yeah, come back in an hour's time. Let's make sure it's... I suppose it doesn't really matter. I used to use a stopwatch, but then... actually, I'll backtrack on that. I used to use a stopwatch when I realised that it wasn't keeping the date and time, because one that I left overnight was out by a couple of minutes, and I thought, because I synchronised it with my phone time. That's when I did some diving into the data sheet for the 12887 chip, and found out that the crystal had to be a specific type. So once I got those specific crystals, surprise, no more problems with keeping the time. So as long as it holds the date and time with the battery, yeah, you know what I'm dribbling about. Anyway, anyhow, that's all I'm going to do today. It's just a quick one, showing you assembly and testing of my real-time clock chips. So yeah, there we go. If you want one of these, I'll put the link below. Mind you, I'm not trying to like plug these or anything. I hardly make any money. The chips are $10. You can go on Farnell Components and literally see what everything costs. Like I just make $10 out of these for my time and efforts in assembling these. I also make a version where I don't solder the battery connector, but as you've seen from construction, that's kind of the first thing that has to go on, because the soldering connections for this battery is under that chip. So I usually just make them when people request them, and all you do is hook up a battery plug to that external header, and yeah. You can remotely mount your battery if you're worried that the battery's going to leak, or yeah, if it's particularly slimline, I've actually put right angle pins on these for someone before. What was that? It was like a Yamaha keyboard or something uses the same chip. So there was like a real tight clearance, so I actually put angled headers on there and just deleted the NVRAM clear. And yeah, had like an external battery pack so they could mount it elsewhere. So yeah, anyway, nothing more to say. So yeah, any links related to this I'll put down below. If you're interested in it, like I said, I'll put a link to it where you can buy one, and also the manual for it, which just kind of tells you what boards this can actually go in and all the ins and outs. So yeah, all right, I'll leave it at that. So till next time, I'll catch you later.